If your family has to submit FAFSA this year, which means either you have a senior in high school or a student that's already in college, then you may have already heard that there are some big changes coming to FAFSA. Now, these changes have been slowly rolled out over the last few years, but the biggest year is this upcoming application season. So in today's video, I want to share with you 3 of the big updates, and there will be more which we'll keep you up to date on. Now, this is critical because FAFSA is such a big piece of paying for college, even if your family makes a decent income. Now, make sure you hit subscribe because every week I release a new strategy on how to work towards that debt-free degree. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System and Debt-Free Degree Lab, where we redefine paying for college to help families build strong financial futures. Now, our main arsenal against student loan debt is scholarships. However, financial aid, accessing money through the government, maximizing FAFSA, this is a huge piece of what we do as well because it can lead to thousands of dollars for families. Now, our families have secured well over $12 million in scholarships, but that does not include all the savings that they've had by learning these tips for FAFSA. So keep listening because this will help you and can help you and your student all the way until they graduate from college. Now, another quick note, this is for U.S. citizens or permanent residents. So this is not focused on international students. So the FAFSA, which stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, this is a federal government form. It's completely free. And like I mentioned, if you have a student that is a senior in high school and heading to college, or if they're already in college and they will be attending next year, you need to submit this. Even if someone told you not to, you need to submit this. I've met families that have missed out on tens of thousands of dollars per school year because someone said, don't waste your time on submitting it. So just before I get into the changes, no matter what, your family should be submitting this. Now, I do have a video on the 3 different types of aid that you can access through FAFSA. So we'll link to that in the notes and you can click on it somewhere around here, but make sure you check that out after this video. So when it comes to FAFSA, it gives access to state grants, federal grants, student loans that typically have better terms than anything you would get privately, but it also actually opens up the doors to institutional money. A lot of institutions will not give your student money, even if it's not necessarily based on financial need, but if it's based on merit, but they need to know your financial situation. So they often will not give out their merit without receiving the FAFSA form. Now, another side note, don't forget about outside money. So once we get through this FAFSA, we do need to focus on outside scholarships because all of your students should be applying for these. And in fact, I have a free training where you can learn my 6 steps to securing them, how I got 6 figures and got paid to go to college. So you can go to scholarshipsystem.com/free training or check out the link in the bio or click the video somewhere here on the screen as well. Make sure you check that out. It's free and it'll help you get those private scholarships with your student. Okay, so let's get to the changes. So over the years, like I mentioned, they've been slowly rolling out some of these changes. But this academic year, the 2024-2025 school year is the one that we're submitting the form for. So it normally opens up October 1st of the year prior. However, you may have noticed that it hasn't opened yet. Now, they say that it'll open in December. It is still vague. We don't even know. Now, there are some whispers that it could even push back to January, which is actually how it used to be. But no matter what, we're staying on top of it. And that's why I wanted to create this video beforehand so that at least you know a few of the changes to prepare for. Now, why the changes? Well, in 2020, Congress passed a FAFSA Simplification Act. And this idea is to significantly overhaul the financial aid process to make it easier to award federal student aid and just make the whole process less confusing for students and families. Now, this included not just changes to the actual form, which I'll talk about, but really in the need analysis that determines a student's aid. There's changes in common terminology and just a lot of the procedures around financial aid. Now, the 3 main changes I want to focus on. The first one is that the FAFSA will be shorter. So actually, this is good news, you would think. They're going to be asking less questions. Now, some of the questions that they removed will benefit families. Some of the questions that they are not asking, however, can hurt families. So it's sometimes, simplification, it'll be faster, but not necessarily better depending on family situations. But regardless, it is going to go from 108 questions down to less than 50. I think it's 46 questions. And actually, depending on on what your family makes, you may not even see all 46 of those. So they cut the questions by more than half. The second change is that all applicants will be required to use the IRS data retrieval tool. So in the past, you could choose to use the retrieval to pull your data or to enter it manually, but now they're going to require that pull from the data source instead. Now, this also means if your family has a non-filing status, this will also be pulled in. You can't just say it. Now, the third update is one that it's frustrating for a lot of us in this space because it's going to harm families that have multiple students in college. In theory, they said that they leveled it out, but they've done some comparisons and it doesn't look like it will. But that said, it comes down to the number of students that you have in college and how they figure out that end number result. So in the past, it was called the EFC, Expected Family Contribution. One of the changes is now it's called the SAI, Student Aid Index. So there's a bonus change. But that number in the past, it said expected family contribution is $40,000 for your family. If you have 2 children in college, it's split between the 2, which makes sense. So each of them, they're expected to be able to contribute $20,000 towards each of their children's education. Now, however, it is no longer split, but they say that they're factoring in kind of like a credit if you have multiple children in college, and that it should more or less even out. Like I said, there have been comparisons where they ran numbers and hypothetical cases, and what they're seeing is that a few people benefit from this, but most people, it'll be neutral or it'll be a disadvantage. So if you have a student that maybe this past year you had multiple children in college and this next year they're also still in there, you may experience a big shift in that financial aid number in the SAI or in their packages because of that shift. So it may come out neutral for your family, but it could actually result in a pretty different picture. Now, that said, some schools have said they will continue using how many children are in college as a factor in determining aid. So that's good news. I think that means that even they see, oh, this might not come out fair for families. Okay, so those are just a few of the updates. We are keeping our entire audience, all of our members, up to date as we get more information. So actually, I don't usually mention this, but we do have a free Facebook group. And if you go to thescholarshipsystem.com/group, you can join there and we will be releasing updates as we learn more. I'm hoping that the government will open up the application soon enough so that we can all get started. I know a lot of families are antsy to get it done and nervous to see the changes, but the biggest thing is that you're in the right place. As long as you continue following us at the Scholarship System and really utilizing all these free resources, we will make sure that you're aware of all of these big changes. Now, comment below, are there any changes that you've heard about that you are curious about or unsure about or nervous about? Let me know in the comments. Are there any that I mentioned or any that you have heard of that you want more info on? I would love to know. Okay, so that said, there are lots of updates over the last few years when it comes to FAFSA, and the biggest updates are for this upcoming school year. So these are just 3 of them. We will continue releasing more and more. I wanted to keep this kind of tight. But if you have any questions at all, don't forget to comment below with those. And also don't forget to hit subscribe because we will release a new video every single week helping you along this process. And lastly, don't forget to check out that free training that I mentioned linked in the description on how you and your student can work towards private scholarships because they are the perfect complement to whatever your family gets from FAFSA. All right, I'll see you in the next video.